All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's executive committee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:35 a.m. But before we begin, we're going to start off with the territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie First Nations. And ceded needs of these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. I'm now going to go into the roll call of attendance. When I call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and if you have any access needs that need to be met. I'll go ahead in order and start with myself. Good morning, everyone. My name is Helen. I use she, her pronouns. As for my access needs, I'm having my camera off today, and my voice is a little bit hoarse today because I'm not feeling well at this time. All right, we're going to keep going down the list. Let's go over to our VP Finance and Services.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby. He, him pronouns. All my access needs are met.
All right, thank you, Abby. Over to our VP University.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki. I'm the VP University in Academic Affairs. My pronouns, she, her, generally, in terms of access needs. I have a lot of access needs, some of which that cannot be discussed in this kind of format that need another forum. For now, camera off. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Over to our VP External and Community Affairs.
Hi everyone, Ishana here, she, her pronouns, calling in from the stolen and unceded lands of the Katzie, Semiahmoo, and Kwanton First Nations, and all my access needs are met.
All right, thank you so much. Over to our VP Equity.
Hey everyone, my name is Songyeon, and my pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met.
All right, thank you, Sungyeon. And then over to our VP Events and Student Affairs.
Hello everyone, my name is Weber, pronouns he, him, his, and access needs are met. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Over to our society staff. Board organizer and facilities manager is not in the room here today, so let's go over to our temporary operations organizer.
Hi everyone, Sindhu here, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Sindhu. Over to our admin assistant.
Hello everyone, my name is Fanny, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Great, thank you. And then I see we have a guest in the room today. It is our mathematics counselor. Ben, do you want to make an intro?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Ben Tischler. I'm the mathematics counselor, pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Great, thank you. Let's now go over to the consent agenda. The consent agenda reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. As you can see, we have matters arising from the minutes, and that's from the July 29th, 2022 Executive Committee meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the consent agenda is carried. Okay, we're now going to go over to the adoption of the agenda. The adoption of the agenda reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP University.
Okay, VP University moves. Someone a second? Someone a second? The adoption of the agenda.
VP External.
Okay, VP External seconds. I'm now going to open the floor for discussion. I already see a list building up, so if you have something to add to the agenda, please list yourself and I will call on you to speak. Let's get right on into it. Number one, Nikki, you have the floor.
Thank you. The first one I'm going to add is a discussion item on expansion of sub-operating hours.
Okay. So that's your only item for today?
The second item that I'm going to be adding is discussion on oversight committee letter of concern. And I will also move to suspend the rules, so that comes first before new business. Thank you.
Okay, so you're asking, you're moving to suspend the rules for this discussion item specifically to come before new business. Only
Correct.
That discussion item.
Correct.
Okay. So let me just get this on my end here. Before new business. Sorry, folks, give me 1 second. Okay. Cool. Abby, do you have that on your end as well by keeping track of the order?
Oh, give me 1 second, please.
Okay. Let me know when you're good to go.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. So Nikki has moved these amendments. May I have someone second these? Does anyone wish? Okay, event seconds. Going to open the floor for discussion on the amendments. Okay, Abby, you have a list. Is this a discussion for the amendment?
Yep.
Okay.
I think the First Amendment is fine, but I think the Second Amendment, part of it needs to be discussed in camera. So I'd vote these amendments down as a batch unless Nikki wants to retract. And what my plan was to suspend the rules and move in camera first and move an in-camera item for this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Nikki, you have a direct response.
May I please share my screen just really briefly?
What would you like to share your screen on, and is it conducive to the regarding the amendment?
Yes, it's the letter this from the oversight committee that specifically states that they would not like us to move in camera today, and that does put execs at risk if we are opposing what the oversight committee is saying.
Abby, you also have a direct response.
Nowhere in that letter does it say do they not want us to move in camera. Please, Nikki, do not misstate the facts stated in that letter. No, it says they would like a public response, and if not possible, they would like an in-camera response. So for you to say that OCEO specifically said to say that in camera is inappropriate.
Sorry, Abby, can you please calm down? Your tone is good. Thank you.
Okay,
I would like to share, if possible. Thank you. Because they've asked for it to be shared publicly, and it does actually say
point of order, out of order.
Yeah, I just for the sake of making sure that discussion is in order, please continue to use the chat, and I will call on you to speak.
The oversight committee is asking us to pull the in-camera items. So that means they don't want us to.
She's still out of order.
Thank you.
Okay, Shauna, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is just a general question. I'm just wondering why is the response that we're going to be talking about in camera? Just because I don't like what will be the topic of in camera regarding this? If I could get just an explanation. Thank you.
Abby, you have a clarifying question, I assume, or comment, I assume? Clarifying response, yeah. Specifically the answer to number 4 on there. I believe part of the response, in order to give an accurate response, would have to be given in camera. 1, 2, 3, I think is perfectly fine to be discussed ex camera if that's what we want to do, and we can do 2 separate discussion items if that's really what we want to do. But I think if we're already going to discuss it, and then if they want 1 to 3 on the record on the executive committee, I know we have the oversight chair here, then we can do it like that. That's fine with me.
Shauna, you have the floor.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. Maybe if we could have that public, but if the other thing is pertaining to like the things that we have listed like in our bylaws for in camera, then yeah, for sure. If it like, I'm assuming it's relating to like HRP or things like that, but yeah.
Nikki, do you have a clarifying comment or a clarifying question?
Yeah, it is clarifying. I'm just confused as why this is a topic of discussion because I'm uncomfortable as an executive going against the oversight committee and their designation because they are having a jurisdiction over us. So that is, I'm very, very, very uncomfortable going against that, and I cannot support going in camera if they have a specific concern regarding it.
Abby, you have a list?
Yeah, I'll speak directly to you, Madam Chair, as per request. Nowhere in that letter does it ask us not to go in camera. It says they would prefer a public response, but if for whatever reason we cannot provide a public response, then a confidential response is also okay. And I'm happy to provide the public response for 1, 2, 3. However, I have stuff I'd like to say for number 4 that's in camera. And for that reason, I would like to go in camera for that. And if it's determined in camera that it could have been said X camera, then I will say the same thing X camera. We also, there's a history of bringing the oversight chair into in camera from the previous exec meeting. So I'm sure we can bring him in for this discussion. And if he thinks it's okay to say it X camera, I will say it X camera. But at this point in time, I am not wanting to say this as it is related to one of the 4 in camera topics. I believe it's like HR, legal advice, et cetera, given it's what I want to say is related to one of those. I would prefer to have an in-camera discussion item, and if Nikki wants to keep hers, I would prefer it be in the same spot after in camera so I can say what I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Abby. I'm seeing, okay, Nikki, you have a direct response, and then Ben, you have a list. Okay, it seems like Nikki is going to retract.
Yeah, I'll just say that since Abby is trying to make a statement of fact of what's in the letter, I think that Ben should share what the letter actually
Okay,
is.
I'm reading the chat. Thank you, Nikki. Ben, I think, yeah, so Nikki is retracted, it seems like. So Ben, I'll hand the floor over to you.
So to clarify as to what's actually in the letter outlines that the Oversight Committee would appreciate a public response where possible, not in absolute terms, as we did understand in writing this that for whatever reasons, and I think it's not a discussion for ex-camera, but for whatever reasons, a confidential response may be necessitated. But I think having as much as possible in public, as I guess has been indicated, answers to 1, 2, and 3 would be good.
All right, Ben, thank you so much for that. So I am going to ask here, because I think this conversation has gone on a lot and a lot has happened here. Abby, were you suggesting to make an amendment to the amendment, just for clarity, just based on what I've been hearing here? Yep. Ben, or not Ben, Abby, you have the floor.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly we'd go about it, but I'd want to pass Nikki's first amendment.
Okay.
And then the second amendment I'd want as a regular discussion item that is not rule suspended, because if we go in camera and it's decided my point is not needed to be in camera, then everything can be said at once ex camera. So my idea is not to keep a portion of this discussion in camera, but by having this discussion in camera first, we can then see if what I say actually needs to be in camera, and if it doesn't, it can be restated ex camera. That's kind of my idea behind it, is that like, it's basically to ensure as much is said ex camera as possible by ensuring that what has to be said in camera actually has to be said in camera, if that clarifies things.
I'm doing my best to follow here, but thank you. Okay. I'm just going down the list here. Nikki, you have a clarifying response.
Yeah. So I agree with Abby on the first discussion item in terms of the sub operating hours, and I would like speaking priority on that one when it comes to it. For the second one, in terms of whether I retract that addition to the agenda or ask Abby to amend it, I would actually like to defer to Ben's suggestion since he is the chair of the Oversight Committee and since this is regarding a letter and discussion between the Oversight Committee and Executive Committee. So I would be the most comfortable with deferring my direct response now to Ben's list. And I would like Ben to suggest what he thinks would be the most appropriate for this. Thank you.
Okay, Ben, you have a list, and I think after that, I'm going to cut off discussion on this item because we do need to move forward. Ben, you
So,
have the floor.
yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just my proposal on this is, could we move in camera for whatever answer needs to be given in camera, and then assuming that that answer needs to stay in camera in the interest of having me be able to relay it to oversight? I know exec has passed a motion in a similar style to this before, but basically let me discuss whatever is discussed in camera with my committee in camera, just in the interest of ensuring that everyone is kind of on the same page here.
Okay, so doing my best to follow along to with all of this, Ben, you're suggesting that we all move in camera, basically just have in camera first before anything else, essentially on the agenda. Like, just based on my understanding here, it's to have the in-camera section of this agenda first. Ben, you have the floor.
Yeah, have that, I guess have that first, and then I can write up a motion. Obviously, I'm not an exec, I can't move that motion, but to basically let me talk about whatever is discussed in camera with my committee as well in camera to ensure everyone's on the same page, assuming that whatever is discussed in camera continues to need to be discussed in camera. If not, we can all have that X camera and it doesn't really matter then, but in summary, yes.
Okay, thank you, Ben. I'm now going to ask my vice chair, how do we move forward with this in Robert's Rules of Order? Because we had an amendment, there was a potential amendment to the amendment, and now there's
So Nikki
an
moved to
amendment.
suspend the rules, so I guess that would probably come first. And she needs a 2/3 majority for that. Yeah.
But this is at the adoption of the agenda. Like right now, we can move things around in the agenda without the need to suspend the rules.
I could be wrong. If someone can correct me on that, that'd be great. But I think you still need to suspend the rules to like shift this around like this. I could be very wrong on that.
Okay, I have a suggestion. I direct responded.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Thank you, thank you. So my suggestion is that I will amend. I'll choose to amend on make an amendment to the amendment, I guess, with Ben's amendment. And I can move that one. And then after that, we can suspend the rules. But I think first we should actually just pass normally the first discussion item, which is to discuss the expansion of the sub operating hours. Maybe we should just pass that one normally and then move on to the second one.
Okay.
And I will do what Ben suggests.
Okay, the only issue is that, as Ben said in the chat, we have a pending question, and the pending question was incorporated with both the sub hours and your item as well, Nikki. So
I can actually
let's
maybe amend, like remove like the something. Yeah, let me know what I should do actually then.
Okay. Abby, you have the floor.
If I can ask you, Nikki, would you mind just unlisting and relisting yourself? Is that okay?
I don't feel fully comfortable with that.
Okay, let's see what we can do here. I'm just trying to think how to best go about this. See, just adding discussion items. Why not just pass her amendment, then amend the agenda to reorder it? Honestly, I think this at this very point in time right now, this might just be the simplest way. Abby, you have a direct response?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think that suggestion works well.
Okay,
So we'll let Nikki move to amend it so that it's not suspending the rules anymore, since that would be out of order, but just to have them as discussion items.
okay, all right. So we have the sub hours. Nikki, remind me, was that an in-camera item or was that just a regular discussion item?
It's a regular discussion. item.
Okay, that was a regular discussion item. And then the other one was a discussion item regarding the OCEO letter that was sent out to executive, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, let's just do this for now. All right, folks. So we had a mover. V had seconded earlier. We had discussion. We're closing discussion right here, right now on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand. Abby, you have a point of order?
Sorry, just to be clear, we have the amendment and all that moved and seconded, so that it's in order now, right? Like
Yes,
everything's
so
fine?
we've
Okay.
had the mover, we had the seconder for the amendment, we had discussion on the amendment. I'm closing
Cool.
discussion on the
Cool.
amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, I'm just seeking unanimous consent for the amendment. Okay, I'm seeking unanimous consent for these amendments. If you wish to dissent, do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, these amendments are carried. I'm now going to go back over to the original speakers list. I'm going to do my best to find it. One moment, folks.
Sorry
Okay,
to interrupt, Helen. Are we going to suspend the rules for the in-camera to come first?
Nikki, just list yourself, please.
Okay, sure. That was part of my original list, so.
Okay, so you're asking if we suspend the rules for in-camera to come first. So at this, okay, Abby, you have a point
Sorry.
of order.
Sorry, point of order, Madam Chair. We have a pending list.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if we
Thank
could go
you.
through that first, thanks.
Yep, thank you. Okay, I'm just trying to find the original speakers list.
Annie just threw it in the chat.
Thank you, Fanny. Abby, you have the floor now.
Thank you. I have a couple amendments to make. Just give me 1 second, I can copy paste them down. So the first one is that. It's the resignation of one of the VPUAAs, AVPUAAs, pardon me. Also want to add in 2 in-camera items. First would be response to OCEO letter. That'll be an in-camera discussion item. Since we're here, we'll do Ben's amendment as well. Actually, I have one more in-camera item, pardon me, sorry. It's gonna read INS. So 2 in-camera discussion items, response to OCE letter and INS. I'm also gonna go ahead and throw in this motion here that Ben has put in the chat. Get it all done at once, save us some time. That will go under new business. And then I would like to reorder the agenda so that in-camera comes before, and the order for in-camera itself, I'd like INS first, please, then response to OCEO letter, and then I think we had one other in-camera item. Yeah, the other in-camera item, which was the letter. So if we can have it in that order, please. And then when we come ex camera, if we could have the order of new business start with OCEO chair disclosure, just so we don't keep Ben here longer than he needs to be. And then after that, if we could go the rest of new business, that would be wonderful. And then continue from there.
Okay. We are going to have one crazy agenda today. Okay. So I'm just going to read everything out here for everyone, like for the sake of accessibility. I'm just going to read everything out here. So Abby has moved the following items. Number one, just to get the simple things off our list, response to OCEO letter, and another in-camera discussion item titled INS. Now, Abby has also brought in two motions, and one on the behalf of the chair of the Oversight Committee. I'll just read that out loud. The title of that motion is OCEO Chair Disclosure Allowance, where it reads, whereas the Executive Committee has discussed matters pertaining to OCEO in camera, whereas the Executive Committee wishes to allow the OCEO chair to relay their thoughts to the Oversight Committee. Be it resolved to allow the OCEO chair to disclose the contents of the in-camera session pertaining to the executive letter of expectations to the Oversight Committee via a confidential email to the members of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers or during an in-camera session of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers. The second motion here is resignation of AVP UAA. This motion reads, whereas Emilio da Silva has been appointed as Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs, AVP UAA, on July 29th, 2022 by a 2/3 majority of the Executive Committee, whereas Emilio has tendered his resignation as AVP UAA to the VP Finance and Services in writing via email on November 15, 2022. Whereas there is no clear procedure in place regarding AVP resignations, be it resolved that the Executive Committee accepts Emilio's resignation as AVP UAA effective immediately. Okay, so Abby has moved for all these amendments, and then the order as well. You're listing on the amendment? Yeah. Wait, hang on a sec.
Take your time
Okay, yeah,
discussing it.
Abby,
I can
you
do it
have
after.
the floor. You have a list, yeah? Wait,
Yeah,
no, we need a seconder. We need someone to second the amendments. And Abby, just for the sake of everyone knowing, what is the order that you want to do it for
So-
like on the agenda?
Yeah, for clarity, I want to go in camera, and then the order of in camera items is going to be INS, then the OCEO, then letter of expectations. Then as soon as we come ex camera, I want to move the OCEO chair disclosure as the first new business item, just so we respect Ben's time. And then
Okay.
proceed with the rest of new business in order after that, and then discussions after that, as per normal.
Okay, new business and then 3 discussion. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. Abby has moved these amendments. Does anyone care to second?
VP external.
VP external seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendments. Nikki, you've raised your hand and you've also listed in the chat.
Thank you. I have a suggestion to the suspension of the rules. I can list afterwards for that, but I'll just say what my suggestion is. I think that would be the most conducive of our time and energy to stick on the same topic and kind of move sequentially from that. So I think that after the declaration of permission for the OCEO chair to share in camera with OCEO in camera, I think we should, after that, move to the discussion item, ex camera regarding the topic, and then go back to new business as normal, because we'll be staying on the topic and it'll be easier for us to all follow. And it's also for accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Does anyone have anything else to talk about on these amendments? Okay, so, all right. I'm hearing that this is an amendment to the amendment in terms of the order. In terms of the order of the agenda. My vice chair, I would love your assistance on this, please.
Yeah, sorry, do you want me to repeat the order or?
Based on Nikki's amendment to the amendment, that
She
would be
hasn't,
great.
she hasn't amended it. She was just suggesting that on the next time after this, that she can move something like that. That was not a amendment to the, unless I'm mistaken, Nikki.
Nikki, you have a direct response?
I suggested either or, but if we can do it now, that'll be better, I think, so we can move on faster.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, Nikki. Are you moving an amendment to the amendment in terms of the order of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, can you please repeat what you were suggesting?
All right, so everything I'm suggesting is the same thing that Abby suggested, just at the very tail end, instead of after the OCEO in camera disclosure aspect, instead of moving then on to new business as normal, move to directly to the discussion item regarding the in camera or whatever the discussion is, and then after that move on to new business as normal.
Okay, Abby, you have a point of order.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I don't remember if my amendment got moved or if we're still on the main motion. If we're still on the main motion, then we're good. But if my amendment got moved for amending my amendment, then this would be a triple amendment, which I'm not sure allowed to do. But if we're still on the main motion, if we're still on the main amendment, then it's fine to do this. I just want to double check.
Okay, so we are right now on the amendment to the amendment. So basically, you brought an amendment to the agenda, right, Abby? You
Yes.
brought an amendment to the agenda. We got the mover, we got a seconder. We opened it up for discussion. Nikki came in with her thoughts and brought an amendment to the amendment in terms of restructuring the agenda.
Okay, we're good then. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And yes, Ben, we're technically on the amendment to the amendment right now. Okay. Okay, so Abby, did you take note of that order?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right, so based on Nikki's amendment to the amendment, do we need a seconder for we do need a seconder for the amendment to the amendment. Does anyone wish to second that?
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance seconds. I'm gonna open the floor for discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Okay, seeing none, we'll take the amendment to the amendment to a vote. I'm seeking unanimous consent on this. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, excuse me, seeing none, the amendment to the amendment is carried. We're now back on the amendment. Discussion is still open. Abby, I'll allow your discussion, but we need to move on.
Sorry, these are just two typo fixes. So with the OCEO motion, I didn't copy the entire thing properly. So my apologies, Mr. Oversight Chair. Let me just make sure I copy it properly this time. So I want to amend the last be it resolved clause. Copy. So it reads as follows. And I also want to amend the second in camera or the first in camera item I wanted to submit, which was INS, and I wanted to change it to read Dakin West instead, please, which is spelled. Like that.
Okay. Okay, so Abby has moved another amendment to the amendment. My apologies, folks. This is great exercise today. Okay, so Abby has moved another amendment to the amendment. It is to change the last be it resolved clause in the Chair of Oversight's motion. That reads, be it resolved to allow the OCEO chair to disclose the contents of the in-camera session pertaining to the executive letter of expectations to the Oversight Committee via a confidential email to the members of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers or during an in-camera session of the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers. And lastly, Abby is also wanting to amend the in-camera discussion item INS to now read Dockin West. So that is an amendment to the amendment. Abby has moved this. May I have someone second this amendment to the amendment? VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the amendment to the amendment to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent on this. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, the amendment to the amendment is carried. We're now back on the amendment. I'm going to suggest we just close discussion on it entirely so we can move on. So let's go ahead and take a vote on this amendment. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, this amendment is carried. We're now going to go back over to the original speakers list. Next on the list is Vaibhav. Vaibhav, you have the floor.
Hi, I have a few amendments. All of them are discussion items. All of the attachments were sent to the executives almost like a week and a half ago. I'm just posting it here. Just give me a quick second. It's not letting me copy paste it. So these are the three discussion items. The first one is SFSS Club and Student Union Funding Guidelines. That was amended on November the 1st. And then SFSS Club Terms of Reference. And then SFSS Club Approval Terms of Reference, which is a new document. We will just discuss on this and then we'll take it to council after this, if everybody approves it.
All right, thank you, V. So V has brought these amendments to the agenda. They're just 3 discussion items. Sorry, my apologies. I just need to cough. Sorry, all. Okay. May I have a seconder for these amendments?
VP External.
VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendments. Okay, seeing none, we'll take all of these to a vote. Or just take this amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, these amendments are carried. Back over to the original speakers list. Ishana, you have the floor. I'm pretty sure it's you next.
Yeah, I just put a motion. This was sent by John, so I just made a formal motion for it.
Perfect. Give me 1 second to put that on my end. Just going to copy and paste this here. Okay, so Ishana's motion reads, whereas an executive meeting on August 19th, 2022, a motion was passed to spend 5,000 Canadian dollars on laptops, whereas 2 laptops have been bought and will be available for staff to sign in and sign out soon. Whereas if exec passes a motion to spend $126.64 Canadian dollars more, we can buy a 3rd laptop for staff, whereas to get a 4th laptop altogether, it would be $1,835.44 in Canadian. Be it resolved to pass $1,835 Canadian dollars and 44 cents for 2 laptops. May I have a mover for, oh, actually, Ishana has moved this amendment. May someone second this?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendment. Okay, seeing none, we'll take this amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, this amendment is carried. We're now back over to the speakers list. I'm going to list myself here because I have one amendment that I need to bring to the agenda, and that is all. Let's see. I just want to add, or I move to amend the agenda to add one more new business item. And it's titled SFSS Representation for Dean of Education Search Committee. And the motion reads, whereas Simon Fraser University's SFU Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem is forming the Dean of Education Search Committee in accordance to SFU's academic policy A13.5, whereas Simon Fraser University is seeking one individual from the Simon Fraser Student Society to represent the undergraduate seat of this search committee, whereas the recommended individual from the SFSS is to later be officially appointed to the search committee by SFU's Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem, and is expected to attend 6 meetings, 6 rounds of candidate interviews, and an open forum meeting that's spread throughout the course of November 24th, 2022 until May 2nd, 2023. Be it resolved to appoint X to later be appointed by SFU's Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem as the undergraduate representative of the Dean of Education Search Committee. I am moving this amendment. May someone second this, please?
VP External.
VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendment. Okay, seeing none, we'll close discussion, take the amendment to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, this amendment is carried. Now back over to the original speakers list, and I'm pretty sure we've exhausted it now. So I'm going to close that off. We're going to close discussion on this.
Sorry, I still have a list. Thank you.
Okay. Nikki, you have the floor. My apologies. I did not see it.
Thank you. So I will motion to, I guess, suspend the rules. So everything that's related to my portfolio comes, I guess, consecutively after each other. So I would like the new item that you just added, Helen, 10.3, to come after the item. Sorry, let me find what the number of it is. It was originally the first one on new business. So I'd like them to come consecutively after one another for accessibility reasons.
Okay, so basically you just want to move them down. You want basically, Nikki, you want to move both of those 2 items basically as the last 2 discussion,
I would actually
last 2 items under new business.
I would actually like them to be, because I don't know how much energy I'll have after all this. So I would like them actually to be, so the new 10.1 is Ben's item. So I'd like them to go as 10.2 and 10.3. So I guess actually yes, I guess it is. There's no other new business other than that, right? So it should be fine then, right? Just for clarity. Oh, there's 4 new business. Okay. So here's what my suggestion. So I would like them, Helen's new item to be, it wouldn't be 10.3 though, if the other ones were added.
Hang on a second, Nikki. Can I ask you to just one moment? I'm going to ask Abby. Abby, can you please list out, just let the committee know what is the order of new business as it stands right now? Abby, you have the floor.
Thanks. Sorry. So I could be wrong here, but this is how I'm going. Right now, our order is in camera, ex camera, OCEO chair disclosure. Then we're doing the discussion for the letter of expectations. Then we have the SFSS representation for Center for Accessible Learning Advisory Committee. Then we have the resignation of the AVP UAA. Then we have the SFSS and GSS seat selection for vice provost and da-da-da-da. Then we go into discussions, which is sub-operating hours, and then 5/3. Oh, I forgot the laptop one. Sorry, I forgot the laptop one comes after resignation of VP UAA, so laptop. purchases.
So Abby, I'm just going to read it out here. I'm writing it in my notes on my side here. In camera, X camera.
And
We
then
have the OCO, specifically just the OCO discussion item.
no, the motion, the OCEO chair disclosure.
Okay, so you're telling me in camera, X camera, new business.
One new business item, then we go to a discussion item, which is the letter of expectations. Item
Okay.
that Nikki submitted.
So new business, I'm just writing it down here on my end. New business.
I have to look at the exact wording. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was the item that Nikki submitted. Then it was the motion SFSS representation for Cal Advisory Committee.
No, this doesn't make sense, Abby.
Because that's the one
Slow
from
down.
that's the one from the agenda, right? That's the
No. I'm just trying to go by sections. Like, what are the sections that we've
mangled the
Fine.
agenda. There is not sections anymore. We've absolutely mangled the agenda.
Okay. All right.
That's the issue with this, right? We're moving everything around. There is not sections anymore.
Yeah.
Everything is mangled.
Okay. This is wonderful. Nikki, I'm going to allow your direct response before I offer a solution. You have the floor.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. So here's what I'll just say what I want, and I would hope you can help me out with it. So what I want is everything that's related to my portfolio to be consecutively after one another and to after the stuff related to OCEO, because I see that I'm then probably going to be tired and have to leave early, and I'd like to be there for those ones. So I would like this specific one that Helen just added to be, so here's what I would like. I would like to, after the OCEO, all the discussions regarding that, I'd like us to go to the original 10.1, right? SFSS representation for Center for Accessible Learning Cal Advisory Committee. And after that, I would like us to go to the SFSS representation for Dean of Education Search Committee. And after I'm more flexible, but ideally I would like them to go to the SFSS and GSSS seat selection for Vice Provost and Associate VP, Vice President of Learning and Teaching Search Committee. That's what I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Abby, you have the floor.
Sorry, you're gonna move her in seconder, then I'll list.
Okay. All right, folks. This is what Nikki has moved as an amendment. Can I have someone second this?
VP Finance.
Yeah, VP Finance seconds, opening the floor for discussion. Abby, you have a list, go for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and clarify everything here. So we have in camera, X camera, the motion for OCEO chair disclosure, the discussion item that Nikki submitted for OCEO letter of expectations. Nikki, if you have the exact wording for that, and you can put that in again, that honestly make my life easy. Appreciate that. Next, then we'd have the SFSS representation for Center for Accessible Learning Advisory Committee. Then we have the SFSS Dean of Education Selection Committee. Then we have the SFSS and GSS seat selection for Vice Provost and Associate VP Learning and Teaching Search Committee. Then we have the resignation of AVP UAA. Then we have laptop purchases, and then we have the discussion, sub-operating hours, SFSS and the three clubs and student union, clubs TOR, and club approval TOR that VIBOF submitted. So yeah, that's the order. That's unless Nikki, I've made a mistake and there was something else you wanted moved up, but I believe everything you wanted is in.
Yeah, I guess now that we're please just move the sub operating hours one right after that, and then that's good. Then I don't have to be here for the rest of them, because I probably will have to leave. I'm really tired. Thank you.
Abby, you have a direct response.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna clarify after that. So that means moving sub operating hours up. I'm gonna move it after the GSS, which is what Nikki requested. So I'm going to skip the first parts. I think we're all familiar with that, but starting with Nikki's stuff, we have the Cal, we have the Dean of Education, we have the SFSS GSS seat selection. Then we have sub-operating hours, resignation of AVP UAA, laptop purchases, and then we have our three discussion items from VibeOf.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So we had a mover, we had a seconder for this amendment. I'm going to suggest we close discussion on this right now. It seems like our order is set for this agenda. So let's go ahead and take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. Seeking unanimous consent, if you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, these amendments are carried. We're closing off the speakers list. I'm not accepting any more amendments to the agenda because this is this is a very interesting agenda that we're having today. Okay, Fanny, I'll allow it.
I just want to note, was this a move to suspend the rules motion, or everything was done under adoption of the agenda?
This is all done under the adoption of the agenda, Fanny.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be spending a little bit of time after this meeting to clarify things for you. So my apologies, Fanny, for this. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take a vote on the adoption of the agenda. The motion is now going to read, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. I'm just going to seek unanimous consent on this. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none, the adoption of the agenda is carried as amended. Okay, now with that said, to be honest, folks, this agenda is extremely, as Abby had said, mangled up. I'm going to ask that if we can take a 5-minute recess, so then myself and Abby can quickly go over the order. I can have some clarity on my end, so hopefully we can move this meeting smoothly as possible based on all the moving pieces here. So if everyone's fine with that, maybe please take a 5-minute recess and return back at 10:32 a.m. I'm going to take that as a yes. So we'll see you all in 5 minutes. All right. Hi, everyone. We just came back from a 6-7 minute recess. We are now going to start all our items listed on the agenda here today. The first, as amended earlier today onto the agenda, the first section that we're going to go into is in camera. And the motion for in camera reads, be it resolved to go in camera for the remainder of the meeting. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP External.
Okay, I'll give the mover for VP External and the seconder for VP Finance. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Okay, Nikki, raise your hand.
For the record, I vote against going in camera. Thank you.
Okay. Ishana, did you list yourself as well?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that what we're talking about is in camera. So like one of the four. Just Abby, can you just make just one more time just to make sure?
So I will. Yeah, so the three discussion items, the three in-camera discussion items is Dock and West, response to OCO letter, and letter of expectations for executives. Okay, awesome. It's all within the confines of in camera. Yes, this is all within the confines of in camera. Okay. Awesome. So if there's no more discussion on this, let's take this to a vote.
Sorry, I had a list, Helen. I had a list.
Okay, Abby, you have the floor. Sorry for that.
No worries. I'll just answer Ishana's question myself as far as I believe she's asking specifically about the one item. It would be really related to HR. That's the in-camera topic. And then my other request is that for the first item for INS that we bring John in camera, please.
All right.
I have a clarifying response to that.
Nikki, you have a clarifying, is this a clarifying
Yeah,
response
John's
or
not working
comment?
today. John's not working today. He can't come in camera.
John is in this meeting right here, right
is he?
now.
Oh, great,
Yes.
great. Okay, I just was based on his email. Oh, great. Hi, John. Welcome.
Okay. I'm going to close discussion here. Let's go ahead and take this to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent for this. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Yep. Nikki, how do you vote?
I vote against. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki votes against going in camera. By majority, the motion to go in camera passes. We're going to stop the recording and we'll get a breakout room. All right, hi everyone, welcome back. We are now going to go X camera. The motion to go X camera reads, be it resolved to go X camera for the remainder of the meeting. May I have a mover for this motion?
VP Finance.
Okay, VP Finance moves and someone a second.
VP External.
VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Okay, seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. I'm going to seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, the motion to go X camera is carried. We're now going to go over to, again, just to be mindful, everyone, we have discussion items and new business all over the place today on this agenda. So we'll be bouncing back and forth between discussion items and new business for the rest of the day. So first discussion item as of right now, so we're going into discussion items, is OCO letter of expectations discussion. This discussion item was brought by the VP UAA.
Sorry, point of order.
Yes.
It's
I'll
the
accept.
motion. It's the motion.
Is it?
OCEO chair disclosure comes first.
My apologies. I was not looking at the correct section. My apologies. Thank you. Okay, new business. So new business, the motion for this first new business section. We have a lot of new business sections coming up today, guys. So the motion is OCEO chair disclosure allowance. And I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Give me 1 sec, folks. Abby, I'm going to ask, are you able to drop it in the chat?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you have the full motion on you?
Oh, shoot. Give me 1 second, sorry.
I think I may have accidentally not copied and pasted the whole thing.
Yeah,
From Zoom.
give me 1 sec. Just give me 15 seconds, please.
Yeah, take your time.
I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you, Abby. So this new business item reads, whereas the executive committee has discussed matters pertaining to the OCEO in camera, whereas the executive committee wishes to allow the OCEO chair to relay their thoughts to the oversight committee, be it resolved to allow the OCEO chair to disclose the contents of the in-camera session pertaining to the executive letter of expectations to the oversight committee via a confidential email to the members of the oversight committee on executive officers or during an in-camera session of the oversight committee on executive officers. Okay, can I have a mover for this motion?
VP Finance.
VP Finance moves. Someone a second?
VP External.
VP External seconds. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on this motion. Okay, seeing that there's no more discussion, or no discussion at all, we'll take it to a vote. I'll just seek unanimous consent here. Seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please do so by using the raise hand function in Zoom. Okay, seeing none, this motion is carried. We're now going to go over to our first of many discussion item sections. There's one discussion item in this first section here, and that discussion item is OCEO Letter of Expectations. This was brought to the table by the VP University, so I'll hand the floor over to you.
Thank you. So to confirm, this is the discussion, right?
Correct.
All right, so I would hand off the floor to Ben.
Yeah, Ben, you have the floor.
Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why the floor has been handed off to me. All I would say is that I guess if we could get answers to what we can ex camera, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Abby, you have the floor.
Yeah, sorry, before I answer, if Ben, if you want to, do you want just direct answers to your question? Do you want like the whole letter to be read out loud? What would you like?
If it's not too much effort, we can read the letter out, I guess.
Okay, Abby, you have the floor.
Can I can read the letter and then ask the questions if that's okay.
Yep. Okay.
So the letter reads, "Dear members of the Executive Committee, in the interest of transparency, and as this is a topic, as the topic of this letter pertains to public matters, we are writing to you in a non-confidential manner. We have concerns with the in-camera item, which has been placed on the November 18, 2022 Executive Committee agenda titled Letter of Expectations for Executives. For context, the President, in a motion passed at the November 9th, 2022 Council meeting, was directed by Council to immediately cease all action pertaining to the so-called Letter of Expectations." Sorry, point of order.
Yeah, can you please screen share what you're reading for accessibility?
Sure. Sorry, I was reading off a different screen. Let me find. Or Helen, do you have it up if you can share it?
Yeah, just give me a sec here.
Yeah. I'll start from the beginning of that paragraph.
Give me a moment. Give me one sec here. Okay, I think I got it.
Cool. If you could scroll down just a little bit. I'll start from for context. For context, where to go? Okay, there. For context, the President, in a motion passed at the November 9th, 2022 Council meeting, was directed by Council to immediately cease all action pertaining to the so-called Letter of Expectations for the Executive Committee. Further in the same motion, the President was directed, in brackets to, consult with the Governance, HRP, and Oversight Committee on Executive Officers before redrafting the Letter of Expectations to be consistent with SFSS regulations. We'll also remind you that pursuant to SFSS Bylaw 7.9, the Executive Committee shall be bound by any resolution made by Council or the membership via a members' meeting or referendum. Neither the President nor the Executive Committee have consulted with the committee about the letter in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, we're confused about the addition of this agenda item and the course of action by the Executive Committee, as it is unclear to us who introduced this item when it did so, and we are hoping to seek further clarification on the addition of this agenda item from the Executive Committee. Specifically, we are asking the following questions. Was the in-camera item titled Letter of Expectations for Executives submitted to the agenda before or after November 9th? Will the in-camera item be pulled for tomorrow's agenda in line with the motion passed by Council on November 9th? If the Executive Committee is choosing to pull the in-camera item, does the committee and or the President intend to consult us and the other named committees on the November 9th motion before it was brought back to the floor of the Executive Committee and or Council? Lastly, if the executive committee is choosing to pull this item, not pull this item, why not? We would appreciate a timely response to our questions, ideally a public and non-confidential response, but if that is not feasible for whatever reason, a confidential response to our questions. Sincerely, the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers, also referred to as OCEO. So just to respond to those first questions, for the answer to number 1, before or after, I believe it was after November 9th. To the second question, it was not pulled for the reasons that were mentioned in camera. So I have, yep. And then number 3, your question was, if the item is pulled, will other named committees in the November 9th motion have it brought back to the floor before it goes to the floor executive committee or council? So while it wasn't pulled initially, it was not and discussed in camera. So I guess that's kind of worked out. And the plan is still to bring it to all named committees before any sort of binding motion or any other discussion item is brought to executive committee or council going forward. And then number 4, yeah, that's part of the in-camera part. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Any other discussion on this?
Yes, I'm listening now.
Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
So we are going to talk about the response to the first 3 questions, right? And do you mind keeping the screen share on while we talk about it? Thank you.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me just set this up here. Whoop. Can everyone see?
Yes.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. So how do we want to go about this, folks?
I thought Nikki listed.
Sorry, I'm not able to see the chat on my end. Nikki, do you want to continue your list or like?
Sure, yeah, I'll
just
go
asking what's going on. So
yeah, okay. So here, I don't want to speak on behalf of Ben, so I'd love if Ben can come in later on when he feels comfortable here to further clarify. But my understanding is that this letter was drafted by, I think, Helen, you were closely involved in this letter, as well as our operations organizer. Who else, I guess if you can say, was directly involved in the drafting of this letter?
yeah, I can directly respond to that. Okay, I'm not able to pull the chat up on my end, so I'm just going to say it was our facilities manager and our board organizer as well. So all of management, union exclude management, and myself.
All right, and so those are the people that should be answering the questions that were provided by the this letter from the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers outlining their concerns about the letter of expectations. Because I know that I believe the first 3 can be answered, so that should happen, right?
Okay, cool. So I guess I can just go ahead and do that then. So the first question here is, was the in-camera item titled Letter of Expectations for Executives submitted to the agenda before or after November 9th? It was submitted to the agenda after November 9th. Will the in-camera item be pulled from tomorrow's agenda in line with the motion passed by council on November 9th? I mean, technically, I mean, technically we can't really pull it anymore because it was in camera and we're just done in camera. So I guess that's no. And then if the executive committee is choosing to pull the in-camera item, does the committee and or the president intend to consult us and the other named committees in the November 9th motion before it is brought back to the floor of the executive committee and or council? Yes. Those are the answers to those questions. And then the fourth one is sensitive. So, and it was in camera, so we can't answer that ex camera.
Nikki's listed in the chat.
Okay, Abby, can you just like keep eye on the chat? Unless like I can stop sharing, let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue to share my screen, but I cannot see the chat on my end at all. So Abby, I'm going to ask you to help I guess in a way, honestly, Abby, are you comfortable to chair this portion?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, great.
Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
All right, so I'm confused to why I'm asking these questions because it seemed like maybe others would, but I guess I'll speak so they can be answered. I think the thing that should be talked about is what are the next steps to amend this letter if it even goes forward, because there were clear concerns brought up in council on November 9th. And there was action demanded from the Oversight Committee and the relevant committees that this letter, this type of thing, should go through the proper channels, jurisdictional channels, when this kind of letter is being drafted. So I personally have concerns that, like as an executive too, that this letter, I thought would be, you know, from when it was first introduced, I thought it would be incredibly helpful because there is a lack of clarity in terms of how our jobs should look and how we should approach all our different things that we have to do in our portfolio, right? And the part of that is due to the horrible onboarding process we have all gone through. So based on that, I think that it is inappropriate for this letter to be drafted by a small amount of people, especially when it's supposed to be relevant and supposed to be helpful for all the execs. So at the very least, all the execs should have a chance to go through it and add in everything. And that should be done in a formal kind of forum. And I want to get reassurance that that will happen. And I want to know how that will happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. I have a direct response to you. I believe in my answer, I said that they would be going to their named committees. So that's HRP, governance, and OCEO. And then I forgot to mention this part. It said before exec or council, but if you're particularly passionate about it, then we can make sure it comes to exec rather than council. So exec has a chance as a discussion item before any sort of binding motion is put in place. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that further, we should talk about it as a discussion item, but I think we should probably have, for example, maybe a working session on this, because just one discussion item is not enough to ensure that all our additions and concerns are heard and being addressed and being put into this letter. And it'll need to be a back and forth process of drafting it can't be just one discussion item. So that's what I would ask here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Judith, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just came in to make something very clear right now, right here. The letter of expectations that was delivered to the executive committee originally to sign, the sections written by management were fine. The sections related to how to handle staff relations, which was the only section written by Sindhu, was fine. The section about room booking that was written by John was also fine. The section written by Ella relation to admin and timelines was also fine. The only sections that were atrociously wrong was Helen's sections that she wrote in relation to policy. I will not stand management being thrown under the bus for Helen's colossal incompetence. And let's not confuse the fact of who wrote which sections, because we should not be communicating to the membership that management doesn't know our policies, because they do. There's a difference between who wrote what, and accountability has to be taken here. Because had Helen wrote those sections correctly, this would not have to be sent to committees. Had she had the foresight to send it to oversight, HRP, and governance before she released it, this would not have to go to those committees. And had we have a president that knows these things, policies, bylaws, and all these things, we would not be here today. Yet we are, because she doesn't. So this should not be any kind of like confusion here why we're here today. We're here because our president doesn't know these things. And now she's actively throwing our staff under the bus.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Nikki, go ahead.
Can my stuff please be responded to, and can I please get reassurance that it's been heard and will be done? Thank you. And also, I wouldn't like Judith's thing just now to be ignored either. I think that it deserves the proper attention. Thank you.
Okay. As far as Nikki's requests, I guess that would be a call on Helen if you would like to just reassure that they'll go to the proper committees and that it'll come back to exec for discussion before any sort of binding motion. If you just want to confirm that with a verbal yes or in the chat yes, that's fine.
I'll just confirm verbally, yes.
Thank you. Nikki, you have a direct response?
That's not exactly what I'm looking for. I'm happy that there is the intention there, but I want to know how that's going to be done so that the consultation process is as robust as possible to ensure that everything can be heard, and that also our accessibility needs are being met, because everyone has different circumstances and not just one approach works for everyone either. And I want to make sure that we are committing to that. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have a response to that specifically?
Abby, I can jump in if that's okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So again, the letter of expectations will just have to be sent via email over to all the named committees, HRP, governance, oversight, give it to them, get their revision on it. Nikki, I also mentioned if you wanted to have deeper discussions on this during a working session, we're more than welcome to have that happen as well.
Nikki, you have a direct response. Go ahead.
Can I get a timeline of when that would happen?
Helen, if you want to directly respond, I don't think we have a, if you would have a direct timeline off the spot, but if you can give her anything approximate, or if you do have a direct timeline, even better, but if not, something approximate would be good.
Well, I guess if you don't mind me directly responding right now.
Yep.
We can just have the letter of expectations just sent out to all the named committees today. And then I don't know when their agenda deadlines are or anything like that. HRP agenda deadline is next week. So for HRP, that's going to be taken care of. But for governance and oversight, we can just send the email over today, and then they can do whatever they want to do it at their next committees.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Nikki, go ahead.
So I just want a confirmation of when and how I will be consulted as well, beyond just like the committee question.
May I directly respond?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so basically the direction is that they have to go to the committees first. So we'll have to take it over to the committees first. And then once they've done their sets of revision and whatnot, I guess by then it'll come back to executive collectively. So under this assumption and based on the motion, I don't think us executives will get a chance to look at all of this together until the committees have finished their revisions or their review or whatever they need to do with it.
Thank you, Helen. Nikki was, oh, okay, you listed again. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, also, I think that it wouldn't hurt to talk with people as well. So Helen, I would expect that you would be responsive if I were to initiate a conversation on this, and that you will make time for me. Thank you.
I'm going to directly respond to that and ask that we stay on topic. The motion from council was specifically asking for a consultation with committees. Anything beyond that is its own item. So please stay on topic. Judith, go ahead.
I also want to remind people that given the fact that the president expressly said at the council meeting that this is an agreement between executive and the society, this needs to go to council for final approval as well. So even the consultations have to happen with the committees first. They should not come back to exec for approval. It should directly go to council. I want to clarify that.
Thank you for the clarification. Anything else? Anyone else want to list? 5, 4, 3. Ben, go ahead. Sorry, Nikki, was that a different
Actually,
list? Or?
I want to defer it to Ben, but I'm going to move my list until after Ben, just in case. Thanks.
Okay, Ben, go ahead.
All I would say is I agree with Judith with regards to bringing it before council. This should go before council, even if exec is consulted after the committees are consulted. This should go back to council.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, go ahead.
I feel like there's still a lot of unaddressed concerns here that haven't been addressed in this specific conversation. One of it is the potential of overstepping onto other committees, and that this was done without their consultation. And I want to make that incredibly clear for the record. And I hope that we can work on this, that this doesn't have to be something that continues to repeat, because it is negatively impacting the society at this point and our work that we can do. So I really, really, really hope that we can move forward and that this does not happen again, and that we are not subject to being overstepped on in terms of committees, portfolios, or any of that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up the list with Ben, then we're going to move on.
So I just want some clarity. So the timeline now is that this will get brought to the 3 named committees first. Then if exec wants to talk about it as well, that's what's going to happen then. And then it'll be brought for final approval through a binding motion at council. Is that correct?
Sorry, I know I said I was closing the list, but I do want to answer Ben's question. If anyone else wants to answer Ben's question, you can feel free. But as far as I'm aware, Ben, yeah, so this will go off to HRP governance and OCEO after you guys do your stuff with it. Exec would look at it, and I think if there's any major changes they want to make to the changes you guys have offered, then it should go back to those committees, just to avoid wasting council's time, just to make sure that everything's in order and nothing's been changed beyond what's appropriate. And then once everything is finalized and the committees are all happy, then we can go to council. So committees, exec, if changes are made to the area, to any areas affecting those committees, back to those committees. And then if no changes are made to those areas that would affect those committees, to council. That's my interpretation. Unless anyone else has a different answer, I think I'm gonna end things there. Okay, Helen, could you stop sharing your screen, please? Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next new business item, which is to SFSS Center for Accessible Learning, also known as CAL Advisory Committee. There's a motion and it reads as follows. Nikki, yes, you'll have speaking as a priority. Oh, actually, no, Helen submitted this. So Helen submitted, so technically she has speaking priority. If you list immediately, though, I'll put you next. So that motion was submitted by Helen, and it reads as follows. Whereas the Simon Fraser University's, SFU's, Center for Accessible Learning, CAL, Advisory Committee, as per SFU's Accessibility for Students with Disabilities Policy, GP26, is a committee made up of students, faculty, and externals that give advice to SFU and CAL on student disability-related guidelines, programs, and policies. Whereas SFU's Executive Director, Student Affairs, is requesting that the Simon Fraser Student Society recommended 2 representatives to later be appointed by SFU's Executive Director, Student Affairs, and the CAL Advisory Committee. Whereas the 2 recommended representatives are expected to meet once per term and will have opportunities to join working groups on accessibility issues within the university and will be provided a $75 per term honorarium that may be adjusted should hours of committee involvement increase. Be it resolved to recommend A and B to be appointed to be holy cow, let me just read that whole clause again. Be it resolved to recommend A and B to later be appointed by SFU's Executive Director, Student Affairs as student representatives of SFU's CAL Advisory Committee. Pardon me, my mouth just stopped working. Can I get a mover for that, please?
VP External.
VP External moves. I'll second. Helen, as the bringer of this motion, you have speaking priority. After that, I have you, Nikki.
Okay.
I know you asked for speaking. Sorry, Helen, before you go. I know you asked for speaking priority, and that's fine to ask for it, but Helen submitted the motion, and if she has something like that, she has priority. And if you want to screen share and speak after that, that's fine. Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the motion speaks for itself, but basically SFU is starting up this committee and they want 2 undergraduate representation on this committee. And so the university has reached out to us to get 2 names of SFSS representation to be a part of this committee. And again, anyone joining this will receive a $75 honorarium for being a part of it. So
Thank
that's
you,
all on
Helen.
my end.
Thanks. Nikki, go ahead.
Can I screen share now?
Yes, I enabled it. Go ahead.
Okay, one moment. So let me just do that. Let me just open up the document. All right. Let me try this now. Okay. Here. I will read this out right now. All right. So, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right. And I'll also share this in the chat. Thank you. All right. So, dear members of the executive committee, for the purpose of clarity, I'll be outlining some concerns related to the ex-camera items, which have been placed on the November 18th, 2022 executive committee agenda titled SFSS representation for Center for Accessible Learning Committee, SFSS representation for Dean of Education Search Committee, and SFSS and GSS seat selection for Vice Provost and Associate Vice President, Learning and Teaching Search Committee. I'm concerned that bringing forward these items directly to the executive committee is overstepping the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs portfolio. Neither the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs, nor the University and Academic Affairs Committee were consulted on the drafting of these motions or the conversations leading up to the addition of these motions to the executive committee. My understanding is that the sole contributors to the agenda drafting process for the executive committee are the chair, Helen Sophia Pahu, and the vice chair, Abhishek Parmar. Based on this understanding, both Helen and Abby have unilaterally drafted these motions and failed to consult the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs regarding the conversations leading up to these items. The Vice President, University and Academic Affairs portfolio, pursuant to the SFSS Bylaw 713, is responsible for acting as a liaison between council and the university. In addition, the VPUAA is responsible for lobbying with the university on behalf of the society. Lastly, the VPUAA's duty, as per their portfolio, is responsible for coordinating student representation on all university committees to which the society nominates or appoints. To repeat, neither the president or executive committee has consulted the vice president and the University and Academic Affairs or the University and Academic Affairs Committee on the drafting of these motions or the conversations leading up to the addition of these motions to the executive committee. Jurisdictionally, this misstep has caused the overstepping into the portfolio of the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs portfolio, and this action is subject to review and potential disciplinary action from the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers. Given these explicit bylaw provisions, it is clear that it is under the jurisdiction of the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs portfolio to spearhead the coordination of student representation on university committees. The addition of these three items to the November 18th, 2022 Executive Committee agenda is violating SFSS Bylaw 13. My questions are as follows. Why was the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs not consulted regarding the drafting of these motions and the conversations leading up to these motions? Why did you decide to go forward with the process of coordinating student representation on university committees without consulting the VPUAA, who is actually the portfolio that's supposed to initiate and spearhead this process as a whole? What will be done to ensure that the President and Vice President Finance does not continue overstepping on the University and Academic Affairs portfolio, as well as for all other Vice President portfolios? Number 4, what will be done to ensure that these three items are following the internal bylaws of the Simon Fraser Student Society pursuant to the SFSS Bylaw 713? Lastly, I'm calling upon the President as well as the Executive Committee to indefinitely postpone these listed items to avoid a breach of the Society's bylaws and potential risk of disciplinary action from the Oversight Committee on Executive Officers. I call upon the President and the Executive Committee to defer the provision of student representation on these university committees and to hand off this provision to the proper portfolio as per the jurisdiction outlined in the SFSS Bylaw 713 for the VPUAA portfolio to delegate. I would appreciate a timely and full response to these outlined concerns. Sincerely, Nikki Kerrigan, Vice President, University and Academic Affairs. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki. Does anyone have a need for Nikki to continue sharing her screen? If not, then I'd ask that you stop sharing your screen. Thank you. Yeah, let me list here. Or if anyone else wants to list, I'll give you guys a sec to list before me. Judah, go ahead.
So, a couple of things. First off, Nikki, the formatting of that letter is really pretty. Secondly, so I think I know probably what happened here, and this is not to make excuses for Helen or Abby to any capacity. I can speak to this briefly because I also been approached by the university. I think it's partially because it's unclear as to where they're supposed to send these things to. And I think that's why one of them was sent to Helen. I know I had somebody approach me for my SSB contract renewal, which is going to council at the next council meeting. So any counselor can run for it and get elected onto the committee to help figure out what to do with my SSB. Nick, if you want to go for it, you're more than free to do so. The only thing I would agree with Nikki on here one is like it should go to Nikki. That's one. The only reason I put on the council agenda is because I'm on LOA and I had the meeting regarding the topic during on my LOA, which I loved. And then to be fair, this probably should have been forwarded to Nikki to some capacity because she is supposed to coordinate who gets on those committees. And it shouldn't go to the executive committee. I think all these should be going to council because I think council should be given a chance to be meaningfully engaged in society activities. I don't think it's fair that we basically snatched them all from exec, which is why I put my SSB onto the council agenda. I think any counselor should be given the opportunity to get involved. And quite frankly, they don't really have much to do otherwise. So I would agree with Nikki that this should not go to the exec agenda. I think it should go to the council agenda and let anybody who is interested in it participate in it. But maybe, given the fact that these are major SFU departments, maybe somebody giving Nikki a heads up or forwarding the email would have been useful because it is kind of weird. Because mine is kind of a niche thing, but these are it's weird how she would know about these given their massive SFU departments. So I would recommend that the executive committee refers these appointments to the council agenda. That's what I would do.
Okay, thank you, Judith. I'm next on the list, and I'll say, at least as far as I've seen these go, this is exactly how this has been handled in the past. For example, we had the election for the VP Finance Search Committee last year, and Almas was appointed via the exec committee. I could be wrong on that, but for the most part, these have always gone through executive committee. Perhaps in the future, we can make sure anything related to the university is forwarded to Nikki, if that's a practice we want to have going forward. Yeah. Hold on, sorry. Nikki, the direct response, go ahead.
Thank you. So this isn't about like whether the VP Finance Search Committee has went to exec before. It's about the fact that I was not consulted whatsoever by anyone, and it actually goes against our bylaws because it is my duty to coordinate university committee, all university committee representation that is overseen by the SFSS. And I should be the one that is delegating this and coordinating this and putting it onto the agenda for exec committee, if that is what we decide to do. So it concerns me greatly that I was not consulted whatsoever. And this has happened in multiple other circumstances. For example, with the student affordability working group, I wasn't even offered an option to be there. Helen just took that spot instead. And that actually, and the part that doesn't correspond with what we've done before is that, you know, Abby, for the VP Finance Search Committee, you were involved in that process and you were the one working on sending that to the exec committee. So this is not an analogous type of situation. It's literally a bylaw violation because you're working in my portfolio. You didn't even ask me. So, and this is a pattern that's been happening over and over again. I know now from what Judith has so graciously helped clarify with me recently is that, yes, I should probably tell the university, hey, you should go to me directly, maybe instead of going to Helen directly. However, like I'm baffled that Helen would just take it upon herself to do all this and represent the society officially with the university, although that is like my job. If Helen is doing it, then my job is essentially obsolete. So, and the thing is, I could, you know, decide by consent to give, hey, Helen, you want to do this or do you want to do this, right? For example, but I wasn't even asked. She just took it upon herself. So this is a bylaw issue. It's not a practice issue. And to refer back to the letter, right? It's very clear that this whole situation has violated our bylaws because I, as VP University and Academic Affairs, I'm the official liaison between the council and the university. And since this is a matter that would go to council, I would be the liaison to talk to the university on this. So if someone, for example, messaged Helen, it should be up to Helen to say, forward it to me and say, hey, actually, this is Nikki's portfolio, go talk to Nikki. That did not happen. Why did that not happen? I have no idea, and that concerns me. So I'm looking for answers here, and I'm really looking for some sort of accountability going forward, and I want to be able to do my work here. If I'm not being consulted on things related to my portfolio, how can I do my work? And like it's such a stupid feedback loop, because it's like saying that, oh, Nikki's not doing her work, but nobody's telling me like about these things that are directly related to my portfolio. How am I supposed to be successful in what I'm doing if you're not allowing me to actually do my job? I'm sorry, this is extremely frustrating. And I hope that my letter has clarified this, but I will be bringing this to governance. I will be bringing this to oversight. And I really, really hope for changes going forward, because it's extremely inappropriate that this was brought to exec without my jurisdiction and without consulting me, at the very least consulting me. And the thing is, it shouldn't be consulting me. I should be the one spearheading this. I should be the one that's being told to do this. So I understand that we're in this situation now. And what I'm asking is that we take this off the executive committee agenda. I will talk with the university. I will catch up with the university and see what's going on. And I'll put it on the council agenda. And I'll take Judith's suggestion for that. And I will I will ask and I will request of Helen, please forward me all the communications regarding this specific matter and let me spearhead it from now on. And I will be responsible for putting this on the council agenda. Thank you.
Okay. I'm next on the list, and given that there's appetite from the committee, it seems like I'm going to move to postpone this indefinitely. It can be submitted to the council agenda after that. I'm going to move to postpone indefinitely. Can I get a seconder?
VP external.
EPX seconds. Any discussion on postponement?
I would like Helen, or sorry, not Helen, Judith to.
You're out of order. If anyone wants to list on postponing the motion, feel free. Go ahead, Judith.
I just want to give Nikki some clarity. Nikki, I listed to postpone indefinitely myself. It doesn't matter, don't worry.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, is there any other discussion? If not, I'll seek unanimous consent. Doesn't seem like there's. Go ahead, Nikki.
I would like this same thing to be done for the other related motions on this agenda, just as a heads up. Thank you.
Noted. All right. Sorry, I didn't see. Oh, okay. Ishana, go ahead.
Wait, are we done with this topic? I just have a list on something else.
No, we're not. We have to take a vote.
Oh, sorry, then retract. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to seek unanimous consent on postponing indefinitely. Seeking unanimous consent. If anyone wishes to dissent, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, this is postponed indefinitely. The next motion.
Sorry, Abby, could I add something?
Yeah, Ishana, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just see Aisha's in the room. I was wondering if we could add a discussion item for the wellness CR, just seeing as she's here right now. I know we'll have to suspend the rules, but if we could add that.
Okay, so Ishana is moving to suspend the rules to add a discussion item regarding a wellness CR. Ishana moves that. Is there a seconder?
VP internal.
VP internal seconds. Any discussion on, well, I guess first of all, suspending the rules is debatable but non-amendable. Did anyone want to discuss suspending the rules? Nikki, go ahead.
Can we just get through the other two, like postpone indefinitely, and then we can move on and have a clear slate and then talk about this item? It shouldn't take that long. If we're all in agreement that we're going to postpone indefinitely all the items related to this portfolio issue.
I guess for clarity, then I'll ask you, Ishana, where did you want this discussion item to go?
Wherever it fits, to be honest. So what do you folks think? Sorry, I didn't have a plan and I don't really know what the agenda looks like, but what fits?
So, oh, Nikki, go ahead.
Suggestion, put it before the sub operating hours one and after everything else that we decided would come before sub operating hours.
Okay, sorry, Judith. Unfortunately, we have many different sections of discussion and new business items. They're quite spliced for this agenda. So, okay. You want it before sub-operating hours. Are we okay with it there?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So let's put that there. Okay. Sorry, brain was breaking there. So suspending the rules requires 2/3. We'll take a vote on that. So seeking unanimous consent. Unless there's any other discussion, sorry, let me make sure no one wants to discuss. Anyone wants to discuss suspending the rules any further? Nope. Okay. So seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent to suspending the rules and adding this discussion item after SFSS and GSF seat selection and before sub-operating hours, please use your raise hand function in Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, that passes, that discussion item is added. Thank you, Ishana. All right, the next item is the SFSS representation for Dean of Education Search Committee. And just paste it in the chat. I know we're going to postpone it anyways indefinitely, but just for the sake of having it there for the admin assistant. All right, so the motion reads as follows. Whereas Simon Fraser's, sorry, let me read the title of the motion, pardon me. SFSS representation for Dean of Education Search Committee, whereas the Simon Fraser University's Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem is forming the Dean of Education Search Committee in accordance to SFU's Academic Policy A13.05. Whereas SFU is seeking one individual from the SFSS to represent the undergraduate seat of the search committee, whereas the recommended individual from the SFSS is to be officially appointed to the search committee by SFU's Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem, and is expected to attend 6 meetings, 6 rounds of candidate interviews, and an open forum meeting that's spread throughout the course of November 24th, 2022 until May 2nd, 2023. Be it resolved to appoint X to be later appointed by SFU's Provost and Vice President Academic Pro Tem as the undergraduate representative of the Dean of Education Search Committee. Can I get a move for that, please?
VP External.
VP External moves. Can I get a seconder?
VP Equity.
I'll second. Oh, actually, VP Equity, please. Yes, VP Equity seconds. Congrats, your first second. Nikki, you wanted speaking priority? Go ahead.
Yeah, just same with, let's just get through these remaining 2 with the same resolution as before, because it's the same situation.
So to be clear, you're asking to move to postpone this item indefinitely.
Indeed, yes.
Okay. Can I get a seconder, please?
VP External.
VP External seconds. Any discussion on postponing this indefinitely? Seeing none, I'll take this to a vote seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent to postponing this item, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, that passes. Okay. Next, we have the SFSS and GSS seat selection for Vice Provost and Associate. Oh, I'm sorry, let me just pull it up. Where did it go? Where's the motion? Sorry, folks. Oh, it was a discussion item. My mistake. My mistake. So to be clear, Nikki, you know what, let me just. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess I'll just list. So we have the discussion item SFSS GSS seat selection, Vice Provost Associate. I'm going to move to postpone this discussion item indefinitely. Can I get a seconder, please?
Okay.
And hold on, I'm sorry for accessibility. Let me put that in the chat. VP External did second that. Sorry. Everything's so bloody mixed up. Pardon my language. And sorry, that's all in all caps. I apologize if that's visually triggering for anyone. Okay. So I've moved. That's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on postponing it? Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent on postponing this item, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, that's postponed indefinitely. Okay, now we're on to the discussion item titled Wellness CR, submitted by Ishana. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll pass the floor to Aisha on this one, if that's okay.
Yep, Aisha, if you want to speak on this, you can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I've been sending some, I should say, my name's Aisha, pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the operations organizer on mat leave. Okay, so I have been sending over some wellness check recs, and my latest one didn't have a signature on it and has been in abeyance, so to speak, for quite some time. So just looking for a resolution on that so we can get that wrapped out.
Thank you. I shall directly respond to you. That's not signed at the moment as our current management benefits contract hasn't been signed. So your current wellness benefit is $500 and your request is around $1,900. So either you'll have to submit it for $500 or we'll have to wait until the new contracts are signed and then you can get your $2,000 benefit.
Okay, can I directly respond? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just looking for clarity on that because that item, the part on the wellness part was not up for signing. Like that was already done and dusted in an email that was confirmed. You probably weren't CC'd in that email, but I can send it over to you as a reminder that that's already done. So I should have $1,500 left in that wellness budget, and I was only looking for $1,500 to be reimbursed.
Okay, I'll list that. To my understanding, that's not how contracts work. I believe we both have to sign off on both parts for a contract to be amended. A simple email is not how contracts are amended, quite frankly. Yeah.
So was that a conversation that was not in good faith then? Because
it is in good faith, but we have to get the contract signed for that to actually be implemented. That's just procedure.
Wait, is Helen on this call?
She is.
Oh, okay. So Helen would remember then that in that conversation, that was not part of the only reason that the signing was on hold was because of a healthcare spending account, which is not a wellness budget.
Well, I believe there was multiple sections beyond just the healthcare spending account that we had to run via legal. So.
And the wellness was not one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not one of them. I'll send you the email to remind you.
Okay. I will follow up with you then later today. Anyone else have anything else they want to list on this? If not, we're going to move on. Thank you. Nikki, go ahead.
I just maybe want more clarity of why this situation happened in the first place and how we can prevent this kind of gap from happening again, because it seems to be frustrating for a lot of people. Thank you.
Go ahead, Aisha.
Yeah, so Nikki, in my perspective, it's landed this way. So the excluded management were in contract negotiations back in August, and there was intention on both sides for both parties, management and Helen Ubby, so executive, to have that wrapped up before I went on leave. That was not able to be done on the part of the executive. And we had assurance. So the negotiation part was finished and it was time for signing. And Helen and Ubby were looking for a final eyes on part of legal, just to look at two areas of the contract. One being the healthcare spending account. The other one, honestly, I don't remember what it was. I'll have to go back and check the email. But all the other things that we had negotiated in there were considered in good faith. So they were already going to be upheld. And Helen had written us an email confirming that. So considering, we need to use our benefits and use our full contract. And I'm not able to do that since I'm on maternity leave. It is causing financial disarray when there's a $1,500 I've just spent out of pocket and I'm not getting it reimbursed because the executive has failed to sign a contract that they are thinking is tied to a wellness budget that it's not. So actually, this was also supposed to be closed out in August. Helen had told us that it would be closed out the week following my mat leave. So that would have been the third week of or last week of August. And it's now like 3 months later and there's no end in sight. So it is quite frustrating. I don't really understand why this is taking so long. It's never taken this long, even with past executives. And it is quite inappropriate, really.
Thank you, Aisha. Nikki, after you, I'm shutting down the list.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to say to Aisha, that's incredibly frustrating. I'm really, really sorry you're in that situation. I really hope it gets resolved, and I'm not sure what can be done in this case, but hopefully you'll be able to get back paid for what you already had to pay for. You said about $1,500 or $15,000 out of pocket. That's either way, that's a lot, and I really, really hope this can get sorted out, especially since you are on leave. You shouldn't have to worry about these kinds of things. I'm really, really sorry this happened, and I really hope that Helen can sort it out as soon as possible, so that it doesn't drag on any longer or cause any more hurt for you. I really mean that. Like, I'm so sorry that happened.
Okay, thank you. So that wraps up wellness CR. Sorry for making you come out here on your maternity leave, Aisha. We are moving on now to sub-operating hours submitted by Nikki. You'll have priority as you submitted this. Go ahead, Nikki.
All right, so since we're moving on to this item, just give me a brief moment just to pull up the email. I may screen share it. Just let me just double check to make sure there's nothing really confidential in that anyway. So let me just open it up though. Okay. Sorry, just give me like 20 seconds or so. Oh, just to do this. But I'll just start now and say that this is also related to the library closure. And I was consulted by the university on this issue, and they were hoping for the SFSS to be able to do something about it. And I unfortunately didn't get a response from Helen. I did not get a timely response from Helen regarding this issue. She was copied on the emails that was addressed to her as well. So, and I don't think that anything can be done in this time right now, unless there's something I don't know about procedurally. So let me share my screen. I'm just going to share my email right now. Okay. And this is directly student advocacy, student interest related. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So this email is related to sub hours during library closure. I want to say that this part, the no ETA on reopening, I got new information on that. They have the ETA for the upcoming Wednesday. But we were requested by Tracy Mason Innes, the executive director of student affairs, the person now that is actually the liaison between, from the university standpoint, to the SFSS. Tracy has asked about whether the sub-operating hours can be extended while the library is closed, and if there's actually plans to extend for the exam period. So I think one thing now is if John could come into the conversation, it'd be great. Somebody could text him, as well as possibly Sindhu, if she's still here, because these are people that I've talked to about this before and that have really good information. So in terms of Ishana, I think it'll make more sense, but can somebody see if Sindhu and or John can come in for this conversation? Okay, so Sindhu is here. Can we check if John can come? He said if someone texts him. I have a new phone, so I don't have his number saved. Abby, can you text John? Oh, Fanny? Okay, thank you. Great, great. And if John doesn't come this time, I think we need to speak about this again. So Tracy has sent questions, I think, that are really good questions. Students have been asking for more options for study space and having spaces open longer on campus. It's been a recurring issue that and topic of conversation among students and also many others about the operating hours of the student union building and whether they can be expanded many students compare the short operating hours of the student union building to all of the 24-hour spaces on campus and say, hey, why can't the SFSS have their space open 24 hours, just like, you know, the rest of campus. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of things that I've checked in with Sindhu and John about to get context, but this is not something that is impossible to achieve. That's what I'm going to say. So now that this has been brought to my attention by university administrators, I think I'm comfortable spearheading this to make sure that the proper people, the proper jurisdiction are doing their job to look into this to the greatest of their extent. And although we definitely won't be able to open the sub and expend and specifically extend the operating hours just in a period of 1 week, it'll take a lot more time than that based on my understanding of the process. This may be something that we should look into for extending it for the exam period, and I think that we should really push for that. And then also, they're looking for ideas coming from students about how to compensate for the sudden closure of the library. That's something we can talk about another time. But my response I'll show here, what I said, none of this is in camera. This is all procedural and governance related in our bylaws and policies, and also the collective agreement, which is posted publicly. So I said, thank you for involving us in the conversation. To Tracy, I personally would be strongly in favor of expanding the sub operating hours in order to accommodate students. I would also be happy to put in the time and effort into this to make it happen. I've had several conversations regarding expanding the sub operating hours and whether it is feasible. There are several barriers that would make this not so much of a straightforward process. The main two issues are that since our staff are unionized, we're contractually bound to the existing operating hours. The other issue is that the society is only insured for the current operating hours, and there would be potential liabilities if this insurance wasn't expanded. Besides these two barriers, it is more than possible to have conversations on this topic to see where we can go. It has been within student interest to expand the sub-operating hours, and hopefully this request can be the push required to take the effort to try and make it happen. Regarding who would be able to work on this, it would be up to Helen as a staff liaison officer to meet with the union and see what can be done on that front. Secondarily, the finances for ensuring expanded operating hours may not be as much of an issue and could possibly be approved at council. That's something I would ask Abby for, but I assume that council would be interested in this if it goes to that point. And I would be happy to spearhead this and to ensure that expanding the sub operating hours is being actively looked into. And if there's anything else that we can do in the meantime, please let me know. So specifically about spearheading, I do want Judith to be involved in this process, and I would offer it to her to spearhead it if this is something that she's interested in, and since it's closer to her portfolio. However, I did want to give Tracy, the university administrator, reassurance that somebody will take charge over this in the meantime to make sure that it does actually move along in a positive direction and actually moves along efficiently and doesn't just get dragged along. So that's what I responded here, and this is my understanding of the situation with whether the sub operating hours can be expanded. And then Tracy responded, I think yesterday, says 20 hours ago. Thank you, Nikki. The library is expected to reopen next Wednesday, so maybe too late to have the sub open later prior to then, but I'm hopeful the conversations will continue so we can be ready for next time. Also, if the university can help in any way, let me know. I feel like this is a very nice response from Tracy and the university. And I do want to remind everyone here that if there's any plans to extend for exams, so it's not just related to this specific library closure. And I do want to say that students have brought up in multiple places, multiple circumstances, multiple times that they would like the sub to be opened 24 hours, 24/7. And I think that at the very least, if you really want to assure that this is within student interest, we should immediately work on a survey and start these talks with the union regarding what needs to be done on that front. So the next steps for this here would be for Helen and Sindhu to initiate a working conditions meeting, I believe, with the union to see what can be done in terms of potentially working within or amending some parts of the collective agreement, whether that can happen, how that can happen, to have that. So that's the first step. And at the same time, it'll be up to Abby as well to see where these finances would come from, how much it would cost to expand insurance, and whether that's something that can go to council for approval, and start that, I guess, a projection on how much that would cost for the society. But I do think besides those 2 points, this is what I've been told is the situation. And if we can resolve these 2 points, it is a possibility, and actually a real possibility, for the sub to be open for 24 hours. And if we can do that within our time here, it would be a great legacy for our executive committee as well, to expand this up to 24 hours. Thank you very much. I hope this is clear. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. However, I'm going to reiterate the next steps here, and these next steps are consecutive. Number one, Helen and Sindhu would be talking, initiating conversation with the union to see what can happen on that front. And number two, Abby would be initiating conversations and making analysis to see how much this would cost on the insurance standpoint and where the money can come from and whether that can be defaulted to council. Hope that makes sense. Thank you very much. And I will continue my talks with the university on this, and I will ask to see what they can do as well. But I do think that this is relatively internal at this point for us to figure out, because we have the two barriers: number one, the union, and number two, that is the insurance piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to respond to that with? I guess I can answer the section that was assigned to me. The money is just going to come out of the, given that it is related to running and maintaining the building, the money would come out of the Build SFU fund for information on that. Yeah. Nikki, go ahead.
My understanding is that for the Build SFU fund is that that's actually the fund that we have some of the most robust resources within that can be tapped into and used. So I'm really happy to hear that it can come from that fund. Thank you. Now I'm going to defer to Sindhu and or Helen for that union piece.
Helen, you have a direct response?
I was just going to say myself and Sindhu are already working on initiating the next working conditions meeting and making sure that it's a regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you, Helen. Sindhu, do you have anything you want to add to that? Retracting. Thank you. All right. Nikki, direct response, go ahead.
Yeah, so the assurance that I want here is not just that there's going to be a regular working conditions meeting, but that this will be something that is brought up and pushed at the working conditions meeting, and that you will see and work within all your power to see what can be done in this regard.
Okay. Helen, oh, yeah, Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll add it to our list of discussion items for the union.
Thank you, Helen. All right, Nikki, this is the last direct response.
Yes, and I will ask for Helen to immediately report back via email summary and executive committee discussion items once you get the answer from the union.
Okay, and we're moving on to new business again. Okay. Let me get this motion pulled up. So the motion reads resignation of AVP UAA. Let me just, please ignore the 10.2. We're way out of whack here by now. Motion reads as point of order. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just so Vibe requested to have his 3 discussion items first,
right?
Since Melanie needs to speak on them before 1 p.m. and it's 12:40 right now.
Okay, you know what? I haven't moved the motion yet, so you know what I'll do actually in the meantime, I'll just list. And I'm going to move to suspend the rules to move Vibe's discussion items, SFSS clubs and student union funding guidelines, SFSS club terms of reference, and SFSS club approval of terms of reference to after sub-operating hours and before resignation of AVP UAA. Can I get a seconder for that, please?
VP External.
VPX moves. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll seek unanimous consent to suspending the rules. Moving up these 3 discussion items, seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please use the raise hand function in Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, that passes. Thank you, everyone. So our next discussion, our next item now, excuse me, I'll just rearrange this, is SFSS clubs and student union funding guidelines submitted by Bob. Bob, you have speaking priority, or if you want
Thanks,
to
Abby.
Melanie.
Thanks for moving it up. Yes. Yeah. I will actually ask Melanie to share her screen, and then she has like more idea on this document, so she can have the floor for this.
Okay. Melanie, screen sharing is enabled if you want to go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thanks. I'll do that. Okay, can you guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a few documents that we want to get approved. The first one is the SFSS Club and Student Union Funding Guidelines. So there are a lot of changes that we've made. The last time we revised this was at the beginning of November, but the last published and approved version on our website was from over a year ago. So there are tons of changes that we've had to make since then. So we want to get this approved so we can start actually like implementing the new guidelines. So all the changes are highlighted. I don't think I have time because there's only 15 minutes before I have to go through every single change, but you guys can go through the document more thoroughly later if you want to. But basically we've added a lot of general guidelines just about how the granting works, about like deadlines, about what kinds of revisions or how many revisions can be made, constraints on approval, just more clearly defining some definitions. And yeah, we've changed some things such as the funding amounts. Some of them have increased just due to inflation and stuff, and getting feedback from students that maybe the funding wasn't enough. So that's kind of all the changes that you'll see in the document. Does anyone have questions about like funding guidelines, or should I maybe talk about some of the other documents that I also need to go through?
So nothing in the chat is definitely Shana saying sure with an exclamation point. So I think, yeah, you can keep going. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, so all the changes are in blue and yellow, and just to explain, the blue ones are further changes that came after the yellow changes, which we had to kind of deal with over 2 separate member services advisory committee meetings. So the next document is the club terms of reference. So these are just the club policies and all the rules that the club executives need to abide by. Again, we haven't made changes to this for, I think, around a year as well. So we would like to get this approved. Yeah, same thing. All the changes are in yellow, just pretty straightforward things like about like changing the club name or purposes and aims. We did, a major change that we did make to the membership though, is that each club is required to have a minimum of 20 confirmed members. Right now it's 10, but we're finding that maybe that's not enough because some people just gather a group of friends and try to start a club so they can get money to like buy snacks and just hang out. So we want to make sure that people are actually like garnering enough interest from other people outside their friend group and that it's an actual like genuine club. And so that is probably one of the more major changes we've made. A lot of the other changes are around like wording. We also did change some of the rules about membership and removing members. For example, I think it previously said 50% of the voters, but we've changed that to 2/3 just because 50% is a very small majority, or it's right in the middle. So we wanted to make it more clear. And then, yeah, we just updated the information about suspension and appealing a suspension for members.
We also updated the section for executives. And similarly, we updated the information about impeachments and having that to that it's required to be 2/3 of voters as well. And yeah, we just added a few other things that we currently do in practice, but just realized weren't actually recorded down in writing anywhere. So that's about it for that document. Are there any questions about the club terms of reference? No? Okay, I will move on to the club approval terms of reference. So this document was created to have some written rules around what kinds of clubs we can approve or not approve. Because right now, we do kind of have rules, like, for example, we always run everything through our insurance providers. You know, we don't let clubs get approved if there's already something existing that's really similar, but we just, again, haven't had any of this written down anywhere. So it'd be good to have some actual guidelines that are written down and we can refer to them when we're rejecting clubs, because a lot of the time they like to push back and like we don't have any kind of policy to refer to, which can make it difficult. I'm not sure if you want me to go through the whole document or if that's something you guys want to read on your own.
Melanie, maybe if you want to go over the highlights, if there's anything you find that's particularly important.
Okay, sure. I think, let's see, some of it is pretty straightforward, like about being SFU undergrad students or SFSS members in good standing. And then not working with external third-party organizations or being run and controlled by those third-party organizations, not conflicting with any of our existing policies, the insurance, and oh, okay, so number 8 is especially, I think, relevant. So the approval of a club, so these are all the things that we will not, these are reasons that we will not approve a club. So the approval of the club may increase the risk of harassment, violence, or misconduct toward the club executives, membership, or event attendees based on its affiliations or connotations. So if we assess in any way that a club is too maybe controversial, and it could create a lot of conflict between different communities, or just, you know, kind of put a target on any of the people in the club, then we will not approve it. Yeah, I think the rest of it is pretty straightforward. So the club mandate should not incite hate or discriminatory practices. They shouldn't be doing anything illegal. And we don't want to approve anything as well that is too narrow to the point of being exclusionary and not open and accessible to all SFU undergraduate students. The club cannot be focused on a specific project, event, course, or competition. And it has to be sustainable, so not just like a one semester thing, but it should be more long-term. Yeah, and number 18, the SFSS has exceeded the number of clubs it can support in a given area or category. So yeah, that one's just in there just so we have something just to kind of capture, you know, any reasons, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Melanie. I don't see anything in the chat. If anyone has any questions, please list in the chat. If not, I think we can let Melanie go a couple minutes early. I'm not seeing anything, Melanie.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so we were hoping that this could get approved. But sorry, my understanding is this has to go to council as well.
I believe that's right. If anyone, yes.
Okay. Do you guys, when is the next council meeting?
It is on the 23rd.
Oh, okay. So would this then be submitted for that meeting and possibly get approved on the 23rd?
Yep, if it's not, I think the submission deadline's up, but it can be amended on.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. It's just, we've been waiting on a lot of these changes for a long time, so we're just hoping we can get it through now and not have it delayed until like December or the new year.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you so much. Should I leave the meeting now?
Hold on one second. I think Vaibhav has the list.
Okay.
Vaibhav, go ahead.
Thanks, Abby. I was just wondering, like, since we have discussed this here, shall I send it to the council email so they have like a better idea of what we are bringing in the next meeting as an amendment?
Yeah, Vaibhav, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I'll just send it to the council.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it, Melanie. Thank you for hanging in there. And I know you came in pretty like short notice, so thank you.
Thanks, Melanie.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Okay, we're almost done here. We have 2 more motions left, I believe. So the next motion, just repaste. I think it's already in the chat, but I'll repaste it. It reads resignation of AVP UAA. Oh, is it too long? I think it is. It's not letting me copy it. Control C. Oh, there we go. All right. 10.2, or it's not 10.2 anymore. Resignation of AVP UAA reads as follows: whereas Emilio da Silva has been appointed Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs on July 29th, 2022 by a 2/3 majority vote of the Executive Committee, whereas Emilio has tendered his resignation as AVP UAA to the VP Finance and Services in writing via email on November 15, 2022, whereas there is no clear procedure in place regarding AVP resignations, be it resolved that the Executive Committee accepts Emilio's resignation as AVP UAA effective immediately. Can I get a mover? I'll move. Can I get a seconder?
Events.
Events seconds. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll take this to a vote. We're going to seek unanimous consent on this. Seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and I'll call on you for your vote. All right, that passes. Emilio has been dismissed as AVP UAA. Thank you for your service, Emilio. Next motion, we have the laptop purchases. And the motion reads as follows. Whereas at an executive committee meeting on the 19th of August, 2022, a motion was passed to spend 5,000 Canadian dollars on laptops, whereas 2 laptops have been bought and will be available for staff to sign in and out soon. Whereas if an exec pass a motion to spend, whereas if exec pass a motion to spend $126.64 Canadian more, we can buy a 3rd laptop for staff. Whereas to get a 4th laptop, altogether it would be $1,835.44 Canadian. Be it resolved to pass $1,835.44 Canadian for 2 laptops. Can I get a mover?
VP External.
VPX moves. Can I get a seconder?
VP Equity.
VP Equity seconds. Ishana, given that you submitted this motion, I'll give you speaking priority.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, this was just sent by John, so we passed that motion for 2 laptops, and then John sent an email just saying that to get a 3rd one, it would be $126, but there is actually a need for more laptops. So while we're like just at it right now, we just thought we would pass more money for a 4th laptop since there is a need. So it'd be great if we could just pass this money, get that 3rd laptop and the 4th so staff can use it.
Cool. I agree. Anyone else want to add anything to it? Seeing that this isn't the case, I'm going to seek unanimous consent on this. Seeking unanimous consent. If anyone wishes to dissent, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, this passes. And before we get to adjournment, I'm just going to list and move to suspend the rules. There's one last motion I want to throw on here. So excuse me for a second. It's based on a discussion we've had. And a title for that, sorry, let me show you a title for that, Fanny. Let's call it, I know, I'm so sorry, Fanny. Notice of termination. So I'm going to suspend the rules to add this motion onto the agenda. Can I get a seconder, please?
VP External.
VP External seconds. Any discussion on this? Suspension of the rules to introduce this motion onto the agenda? Seeing none, I'll seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, this motion is now introduced onto the agenda. Thank you for that. So I think we need to get a mover and seconder for the agenda itself. So I'll read aloud the motion, which is titled Notice of Termination. Whereas issues with the student union building tenants Dakin West have been discussed in camera, be it resolved to send a notice of termination to Dakin West Ltd. I'll move. Can I get a seconder?
VP External.
VP External seconds. Any discussion on this? I'll remind, any discussion on this should be kept purely ex camera. Anything discussed in camera should not be discussed here. Seeing none, we'll take a vote on this. I'm going to seek unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent. If anyone wishes to dissent, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, this passes. I believe we are finally at adjournment. If I'm not mistaken. Yes. All right. So this motion, adjournment, be it resolved to adjourn this meeting at 12:59 p.m. Can I get a mover?
VP External.
VP External moves excitedly. Can I get a seconder?
Events.
Events moves less excitedly. Any discussion on adjourning? Seeing none, I'm going to ask unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent. If anyone wishes to dissent on adjourning, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. I'll call on you for your vote. Seeing none, we are adjourned.